Okay, third ord, Parshas Emor that we started yesterday. First column. Okay, like 10 lines from the end of the first column. Okay, the Alter Rebbe is discussing that one group of malachim says kaddish, the other one says kaddish, kaddish, and the third one says kaddish, kaddish, kaddish. So he says to understand what all this means. And to understand what the word kaddish means separated. Okay, so then the Alter Rebbe started explaining that if you want to understand that the way Hashem gives existence to the world is not like the neshama in the body. The neshama in the body, the head is higher than the body, which is higher than the feet, and therefore the head dresses itself into the body. But Hashem in the world is in a way like it says, Ani Hashem le'shanisi. I haven't changed from before the world, after the world, the middle of the world. Why? Because the world doesn't affect him whatsoever, and therefore Hashem is not permeating the world, so to speak, and therefore it's different. That's what we're in the middle of now. So about 10 lines from the end of the page, from the end of the first column. Came because Hashem is different than the neshama in the body. There is no differentiation of separate life. Shemahava Elamis that he gives existence to the world. There's chalkos who meets on his slapshus canal. Differentiation, like the difference between head, body, and foot, is only in those powers that differentiate head, body, and foot. For instance, the fact that the body is alive, where there's no particular penetration of the chayus of the neshama functioning in the body, you're just making it alive. There's no difference.
Is there more neshama in head than in foot, or is it the
same? Same. In other words, the function of the neshama in the head is greater than the function of the neshama in the foot. What is more alive? What is more alive, the head or the foot? They're equally alive. They're equally alive.
No, neshama, assuming the neshama is part of God, the neshama in the foot is the same amount of neshama in the head. I understand the function. Is that correct?
Yes.
The klali is stronger than the prati?
It's always like that, but we didn't learn that yet. Yeah, but it's always like that.
What
okay, one sec. Why is it like that? Because when you're talking about functioning, the higher the vessel, even it got physical. You're talking about the bigger the vessel, the more it's going to get. The more refined the vessel is, the more refined characteristics. For instance, the head is much more sensitive than the foot. So therefore the eyes are the vessel for sight, and the nose is the vessel for smelling and talking and hearing and everything, and the foot is the vessel for walking. Therefore, in the higher faculties of the body, there's more God, the more power of the neshama, more function. That's only though in the part of the neshama that functions in the body. That means it has to come into a vessel to function, then there's a difference. Hashem himself, this that Hashem gives life to the world, is not through he's permeating it, he's not functioning in it, he functions around it, so to speak. Therefore, there's no differentiation whatsoever. Okay, so the Alter Rebbe is explaining there is a function of life that functions in the body, and there's a level of function that doesn't come into the world. That's the definition of the word kaddish. The Alter Rebbe explained before, what we learned yesterday, kaddish means not holy. Kaddish, because a prostitute is also called kadesha. What does kaddish mean? Kaddish means removed, separated. You can have separated below normal, below moral, and you can have separation above moral. So kaddish, he said, refers to the chayas of Hashem that's completely removed from the world. If kaddish means removed and separated, if it's chayas of Hashem that comes in the world, then it's not separated from the world. It's functioning in the world. It unites with the vessel that is functioning with. So he says, what?
Asu is the opposite of kaddish.
No, asu is the opposite of mutar.
That's what's forbidden.
Asu means it's bound.
Can we say a gambling place is kaddish?
A prostitution home is called kaddish. Yeah. What's the Hebrew word for prostitute? Kaddish. You have in Vayeshev with Yud and Tamar, Aliyah Kadeshi Beinayim. Then later on, Leisia Kadeshim of Bnei Yisrael. The prostitute is called Kadesha, which is the same letters as Kedusha.
Kaddish does not mean holy.
In the true definition of the word, no, it does not mean holy. It means separated. Now, when we say something is Kedusha, we're talking about something which is separated by making it holy versus being mundane. I don't know what he said. The alpha he doesn't dress himself into it. The only way you could be influenced by something is when you're in it. If you're not in it, and I'll explain what that means in a second, then you don't get influenced by it. For instance, you could be in a room and have nothing to do with the room. You could be in a city, yeah, and be locked up in your own room, so to speak, and you're not involved at all in the city, so the city doesn't change you, you're not going to change them. When you get involved in the city, then either the city changes the environment, the society changes you, or you change them. So that level of elokus, which is completely removed, segregated from the world, it's not going to be influenced by the world because it has nothing to do with the world in a direct way. In order to be affected, you need direct contact. But the neshama does become affected by the body. Why? Okay, but now the Alter Rebbe is going to ask a very simple question. There is life of elokus that permeates the world. So he says, Amnam tzarech lohav, we need to understand, even in creation of the world, there's infinite levels. In the chain of the worlds. There's Gavoya, Mal Gavoya, Hashem is super high upon high. V'gamba elam hazeh. Even not only is there a difference between Atzilis, Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya, and how much godliness there is revealed in the world, but even in this world, you see there's inanimate, plant, animal, and human. So there is differentiations. And obviously, godliness, God gives life to inanimate, plant, animal, and human. Now, obviously, the life that Hashem gives to inanimate is not the same life that He gives to plant, which grows. And definitely not animals that move around, definitely not people. So how can you say there's no differentiation of levels by godliness? The fact that there are different worlds, and in worlds there's infinite levels. And as he said before, just like in the body, there's three general parts: head, body, feet. In the worlds, there's also Bria, Yitzira, Asiya, head, body, foot.
Does godliness in someone increases by increased relationship with God?
The more vessel for God you make, the more godliness you have. But let's jump the gun a little bit. Just like in the body, there's two forms of life that the neshama gives the body. One, like we learned, a person is born, they're alive. Okay? That function of the neshama is making the person alive. Now, the head's alive, the body is alive, the foot's alive. They are alive equally. Correct? Then there's a function of the neshama in the body to function accordingly. Again, the brain to think, and the eyes to see, and the nose to smell, and everything else like that. Over there, that is based on the vessel. This is a vessel for this is a vessel for this. Correct? The same way in godliness. There's a level of godliness, everything exists. Then, inanimate, plant, animal, and human are totally equal. Does a stone exist less than a person? No. The function of a stone is less than the function of a plant, animal, and human. Which means, Alter Rebbe is asking, but he's basically explaining, that they're just like in the body, in the neshama, there's two types of life that the neshama gives to the body, and there's two types of life Hashem gives to the world. There's the way everything exists, and that's everything equal. Now, that level of godliness that functions in the world, that means it's connected directly to the world, that is dependent on the vessel. You have a bigger vessel, you're going to get more. You have a smaller vessel, you're going to get less. Yes? Now, to use godly terms, bigger the vessel means the more refined you are, i.e., more bottled to Hashem, the more subjugated and bittul to nullified to Hashem, you're making a greater vessel. Therefore, you're going to automatically get more. You open the curtains more, you're going to get more sunlight. You close the curtains, you're going to get sunlight. It depends what vessel you make, correct? Then there's a level of godliness that it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, when you are. It's all the same. In a practical way, Moshe Rabbeinu is greater than us. Yes? That you understand. Because Moshe Rabbeinu was more godly than we are, because Moshe Rabbeinu didn't do anything wrong. He did everything God wanted him to do. Therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu got more godliness. Correct? He had a better, closer relationship with Hashem than we do. But, is Moshe Rabbeinu more Jewish than me? No. 9 Moshe Rabbeinus don't make a million, and 10 Yukels do. Right? Now, how can Moshe Rabbeinu not be any more Jew than me? Because there's an aspect of godliness in relationship to a Jew that is above functionality, and therefore it's above the vessel that you make. It doesn't matter what vessel you make. I.e., a child is a child whether they behave or they don't behave. A child that doesn't behave might not have an open relationship with the parent like a kid that does, but nevertheless he's not any less child. Right? Okay. So is somebody a greater vessel for godliness? In that level of godliness that functions in the world, that person is closer relationship, a higher relationship with God, because he's more of a vessel. And that's depending on Torah mitzvahs. You do Torah mitzvahs, you're closer. You do sins, you're further. But there's an aspect of a relationship that Hashem gives to the world that there's no difference. The whole thing is alive. It's a Jew. It's not dependent on behavior, because it's not dependent on functioning, and therefore it's not dependent on the vessel you make. It's above vessel.
For a Sati, the slightest, tiniest thing.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Well, because he's greater. 1 second. We said this mashal many times. You're painting your house, you're cleaning up all the dirt and everything, yeah? You're wearing filthy garments. You get a little speck on it, it's not so noticeable, because the whole garment is dirty. So a little more dirt ain't gonna do anything. But if you took a suit straight out of the cleaners, hopefully,
White.
yeah, and it's clean,
Like your shirt.
take a black suit out of the cleaners, a tiny speck is noticeable. Why is it noticeable in this garment and not in this garment? So the answer is very simple. The cleaner the garment, the smaller the speck is noticeable.
But the cleaner garment has such a huge...
The what?
This little tiny thing should be diluted in it. Should not show and show up.
No, in a clean garment it does show up.
Much more, like a heater rod versus copper.
Right.
Rabbi Shusterman, does a big, I'm asking this quantity to be pointed. Does a bigger stone have more than they have?
No.
What?
Is a bigger stone more existing than a small stone? No.
Neshama?
It might function better. It might be able to hold stronger things. But in essence, what exists more, inanimate exists as much as we do. Not more or less.
But he's talking about Neshama.
No, he asked about a stone.
No. He said if the big stone has more Neshama than I am.
More, in other words, more existence. Neshama means life, existence. That's what he's asking. If it's bigger, it's a bigger existence.
Once you know uranium is much more stronger than a mountain of stone.
Whatever. That's not the point over here. The point over here, there's two aspects. There's existence and there's function. Existence, everything is exact.
A bigger stone has a bigger cleat. So if the light is coming,
That's for functioning. That's for functioning. It's a greater, so therefore, a bigger stone can hold greater weights than a smaller stone. Right? A bigger stone can keep a door open and a little pebble won't. That's functionality already. In function, a bigger stone is a bigger vessel, so therefore it has more functioning. But existence, a little pebble, is just as existing. A grain of sand, right? Or a drop of water is not less existent than the ocean. Does it function the same? No. The waves of an ocean can, cause a tsunami, and a single drop can't do anything. That's what the Rebbe throughout this Maimer is going to be explaining. There's the function of Hashem in the world. Over there's differentiation of levels. Atzilus is higher than Bria because Atzilus is a more refined vessel. If it's a more refined vessel, you're going to get more Kedusha. Bria is less, Yitzira is less, Asiya is less. So you're going to get, basically in language that we know already from before, Mamalu Kolamin versus Seviv Kolamin. Mamalu Kolamin, which means permeates, functioning. Over there, in Mamalu Kolamin, Atzilus is higher than Bria, higher than Yitzira, higher than Asiya. But in Seviv Kolamin, the power of God that doesn't function directly, it encompasses, meaning it only indirectly affects the world, so it's not a functioning, direct functioning so over there everything is the same.
How come in Asiya you can accomplish more?
Because the reason why we accomplish more in this world than in the Atzilus, because it's more difficult to do godliness in this world than Atzilus. And therefore, you're paid by your effort. There was, you mentioned this, a very beautiful mashal for this. A king wanted to decorate the room in the palace. So the king hired 4 workers, each one to decorate the wall. Right? You know the story, yeah? To decorate the wall. Everybody worked, they made a beautiful wall. The 4th guy didn't do a thing. He didn't work at all. The last night came, after everybody put up the walls, he set up mirrors in a way that it reflected all the other 3 walls. So it was really a beautiful wall. Yeah. With his head now. Anyway, the king came in, yeah, and he awarded each one of them for the beautiful thing. He gave him a sack of gold. And to this guy, he didn't give him a sack of gold. He showed him a sack of gold. You see, this is your reward. He said, why? But my wall is more beautiful than all the 3 together. He said, I'm giving you for your effort, not for what you did. Okay? In this world, it's much more difficult to do Torah mitzvahs than it is in Atzilus. There's no body, there's no Yetzer Hara, and therefore there's no Torah mitzvahs. Torah mitzvahs must have free choice with good and bad. That's why Torah mitzvahs is only in this world. So dafka in this world, because it's more difficult, the darker it is, the more a tiny light shines. Take a light sun. The Gemara has an expression, Shraga b'tihara mayhane. The Gemara says, why do you do b'dikas chometz at night, not during the day? So Gemara Yerushalmi says an expression that a candle during the day, take a sunny day and light a candle. It's not going to do a thing. But in a dark room, a candle is going to light up the room. Why? Because the greater the darkness, the greater the light accomplishes. So in that Tzilas B'riyah, in Gan Eden, there is no Torah mitzvahs, because by definition, Torah mitzvahs needs free choice. If not, there's no Torah mitzvahs. That's where, like we learned in the other Maimon, the neshama comes down into the body. Why does the neshama come down from such a high place to such a low place? Because only down here can it go up higher than it was before. Okay. So he says, okay, fourth line in the second column. And just like in the body, there's head, body, and feet, in Elokus in the world, there's also Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya. Chvedi B'razi Yitza'af Asisif. Shem Gimel Elam is Klolam at three general worlds. Gan Eden HaElyon, Gan Eden HaTachten, and Elam Hazah. That's exactly like the difference in the body. Just like the head is higher functioning than the body, which is higher functioning than the foot, so the same way in Elokus. Just like in the body, there's three levels: head, body, and foot. It's the same thing we find like this. In the Haftarah of Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, not Mochel Chodesh, Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, we say Hashemayim Kisi. Hashem says like this: the heaven is my chair, and the earth is my footstool. Okay, that means the earth is God's footstool. That's the level of a foot. Then you have chair is where the body sits down. Right? The head goes down because the body goes down, but the chair is where the body sits. So you have, again, in Elokus, you also have head and body and feet. And so it's known, the Shis Sfirim Mekan Nabi Yitzira. The six Sfiras, the six Midas, shine in the world of Yitzira. We learned already many times, it says all over Chassidus. Yud Kei Vav Kei. So it corresponds with the four worlds. Yud is in Atzilus, Hey is in Bria, Vav is in Yitzira, and Hey is in Asiya. Okay? Now Yud is Chachma, Hey is Bina, Vav is the six Sfiras, and Hey is Malchus. Which means, Kabbalah and Chassidus explain, Chachma is revealed in Atzilus, Chachma is Bittul, Kayachma. So that's Atzilus. Then you have Bria, is the level of Bina, which is already Yesh, Mi'ayin. Then you have the 6 meters, shine in the world of Yitzira. And then you have Malchus in Asiya. Behind Shisham Gili, in the world of Yitzira, is the Gili, Midas of Yisbar, Chesed, Gamech, Chabad, Mislab, Shema, Midas. That's the way intellect is in the Midas. But Gan Eden, Shisham Gili, Bechinas Chabad, Atzmi. But Bria, which is the higher level of Gan Eden, that's where you have the Bina, shines in Bria. The neshama say yeshim and enemies of mizib. Then it's like the level of the intellect. So you saw that Rebbe is asking the question, so why are we saying in the first paragraph? Yeah, that in Elokus there's no difference of levels, it's all the same. We find differentiations in Elokus. There's Atzilus, and Bria, and Tzir, and Asiya, and Daim, and Tzemecham, and so on and so forth. So we see clearly, so if so, godliness also permeates the world. So why are we saying it doesn't? Why are we saying Ani Hashem Leishanisi? That God doesn't change. There's no difference between before and after and during or whatever. So we find the Gemara in the Brachas, Shadim Amshach Sachais Beni Yisbarach Laelimis. The Gemara likens Hashem's relationship with world, like the neshama in the body. Like he quotes the Gemara in Brachas, like it says, "Mamish Amar Azal, Ma Kaddish Baruch Hu Malei Chol Ha'elam." Just like Hashem permeates the world, the neshama permeates the body. So if so, just like the neshama in the body, there's different functions. So it is in Alukos also. That's in the Gemara Brachas. And then he says, Medrash till on the pasuk Barchi Nafshi Amru, over there in the Medrash it says, Ma nefesh mamalas haguf kachar kaddish baruch hu mamalas ha'elam. Just like the neshama permeates the body, Hashem permeates the world. But in your neshama malaguf b'chinas eslapshus v'tfisa mamish kanal. So if the function of the neshama in the body is different levels, so the Alter Rebbe is asking, this seemingly is contradictory to what we just spoke in the whole first paragraph. That Hashem is removed, that Hashem does not permeate the world, He doesn't function in the world. That's a major rule in Torah. Hashem exists in the world, and the worlds don't exist in Him. I mean, the worlds don't grasp Him at all. So basically, Alter Rebbe is asking a very simple question. There seems to be a contradiction. Here we're saying Hashem doesn't change. He's not affected by world whatsoever. And here we say Hashem does function in the world. So which one is it? Why not?
It functions very well, but it doesn't change its essence.
If you function, you change. Let me ask you a question. Before it existed, are you functioning in it? And then after it exists? Yes. That means there's a change. Let me ask you a question. A kid is born, okay? Is there a difference in the father's money, so to speak, before he supports the kid or after, or if he doesn't support the kid? He changes. Okay, he has less money or more money. So one side we say Hashem doesn't change, and the other side we say He does change. Which one is it? And the answer is both are true. There's a level of godliness that He doesn't change. There's a level of godliness that He does change.
The father is affected with his wealth is finite, but if his wealth is infinite, doesn't change.
A human being's wealth in physical world cannot be infinite. In Torah mitzvahs, it could be infinite. Because Torah mitzvahs is infinite. A father's wealth cannot be infinite, realistically speaking. Therefore, if a father gives a kid $1,000, he's $1,000 less.
Yes.
Okay, so his wealth is not infinite. So, but the question is, so then why are we comparing God to the neshama in the body? Torah says, just like the neshama functions in the body, God functions in the world.
Okay.
So now we're saying, from one side, Hashem doesn't function in the world. He's not affected by world. And then we say He functions. Function, by definition, the word functions means it changes you. Pre-functioning, post-functioning.
So you're saying God's activity diminishes its...
That's the contradiction. The answer is, there is a level of God that taka changes and is affected. There's a level of godliness that doesn't change and affect. What?
That does get changed.
That's mamala kolam.
It's not a permanent change.
It is and it's not. It depends. When a person does a mitzvah, the Alter Rebbe says in Perek Chafei of Tanya. In Perek Chafei of Tanya, Alter Rebbe said, Yichud zeh l'mayla nitzch le'elam void. When a Jew does a mitzvah, yes, they connect themselves to Hashem. Yes? Okay, they put on tefillin half an hour a day. Are they connected to Hashem that half an hour? And then afterwards, what happens? Does that connection stay? How can it stay? You're not wearing tefillin anymore. So the Alter Rebbe says in Perek Chafei of Tanya that meaning because we bind ourselves to Hashem and Hashem is above time and place, so that binding connection bond is permanent. So when a Jew does a mitzvah for 30 seconds, it's not that 30 seconds he's connected and that's it. Because Hashem is above time and place, and we're connecting ourselves to Him in a level above time and place, it's eternal, it's permanent. So now you're asking me, does the connection stay forever? Yeah, it does.
Okay, so now the change went back to my question.
But that's not a level of godliness that's im chatasim matifel bay v'rabba b'shachem matasel. There's a level of godliness. If you do a sin, it doesn't do anything to him, and if you do a mitzvah, it doesn't do anything to him. Like we said, whether the son behaves or not, there's no difference in the son and father relationship. In essential bond. In open relationship, there is, obviously.
So where Hashem makes himself vulnerable to be affected, is that a permanent change in Hashem?
If we bring down more kaddish in the world, that kaddish lasts forever.
Yeah, but Hashem doesn't come more kaddish because of that.
Va'ata kaddish yeshiv tilis yiso, he said last night at the class. There's kedusha that remains through the Jews.
It's not like he's more satiated.
No, Hashem set it up in a way. What it means is, when we do a mitzvah, Hashem set it up this way. We force Hashem to reveal Himself more in the world. It doesn't last for 10 minutes. Forever.
He brought more of him in this.
Forever.
We didn't change it.
Forever.
We didn't change it. We didn't affect the change.
We didn't affect the essence of Hashem, which is above that level of world.
But even at the moral level of Hashem, we should be able to make him change.
Not in the permanent level, not in the essential bond.